If sequels drive you a little bit crazy, then covering Amber Heard is driving me just a little bit nuts.
So it's
really?
retribution.
I'm loving every second.
So Amber Heard expected to file motion to toss Johnny Depp $50 million case required, but the move is expected to fail.
Okay, look, before we talk about anything substantive, I just need to make notes. She needs to stop putting her hair up in those weird milkmaid braids.
I think it's supposed to make her look more like polished but innocent.
She looks anything but innocent. Looks very odd.
And you
then
think
he
he
needs to stop wearing sunglasses in court. What are you doing, bro?
He should make the like sunglasses at night, but
This
sunglasses
is
in court.
Optics 101. Look trustworthy and reliable while you're in court.
They're like, we don't know what that looks like. We've
Blue.
been in a weird industry for too long.
You're supposed to wear blue. You're supposed to wear blue. And
also, we
he's
were
doing that.
expecting Amber to wear purple, but she just wore black.
So Dane, we're sorry.
Dane.
She's just not that into you.
Yeah.
My purple.
Do you want to
It's
tell
a
us?
secret code. It's showing that not only is she watching, but she's into Dane and wants to hire him as her new PR.
There's
man.
still days left. This could still happen.
Oh, yeah. Like, she hasn't even testified
I heard
yet.
that she fired her PR team. So, Dane, this might really be a moment for you.
Believe it or not, that's where that came from. We talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
like, I know the perfect guy.
So it says, so they're saying that she's
He's
going to
go Amber Heard Summer.
it's right up there with
No,
White
he's
Boy
like
Summer.
the mental health angle.
Yeah, he got really into it yesterday and gave us animated Dane.
Dane is fantastic.
So it says, under the statutes of the Old Dominion, lawyers for the defense in civil cases essentially are required, as one legal source told us, to enter a motion to strike once the plaintiff has wrapped their case. So basically, they finished with their side of testimony.
Okay.
And they're like,
this is kind of standard operating procedure in Virginia.
yes, it would be like, I guess that what they're saying is like, if her team didn't try it, they would be like in dereliction of.
It's just what you do. I could not figure out what she would be like objecting to, right?
I still don't know how he wins. I still don't know how you with the limited knowledge I have of libel and what's going on. I don't see a financial way in which there's no paper trail other than, they said like what he might have lost $22.5 million on Pirates, but there was no paper
how
trail
would
for
they
that.
approximate that when Disney never officially approached him
I would
for
argue
the role?
All of these studios do analysis of what they think movies will make. That's how they set their budget. So there is probably some projected incomes, projected earnings. They wouldn't make a movie without it, right?
Yeah.
You can't negotiate a contract with an actor without being like, this is how much we'll pay you and this is how much you would make based off of, how well the movie does, right? Didn't Keanu Reeves give some of his potential earnings to hair and makeup artists on some of the movies he worked on?
The people who worked on stunts and CGI.
And so in
stuff.
that sense, I do actually think that there is a way to calculate this. Just like if Brett defamed me and I lost my job, I could say I was supposed to make
I might
this
have to
much
do
this
that
year.
given how much you don't like the Fast and the Furious movies. That might end up coming
He's
up.
liable to do
All-
it.
This is the one thing that's making me excited to go live, which is having the audience be like, Hannah Claire is totally right. I will accept that some of you will disagree, but I think in this case, the overwhelming majority of people believe me when I say sequels are overdone in Hollywood and we should expect more.
Well, when we go live, they will tell you that we're sick of movies that are stuffed full of political messaging and agenda. So even if I get 10
also
of them,
agree with that.
Even if I have to get 10 of the same franchise, if it means I get away from that for one movie once a year from the same 5 characters every year for 10 years, I will take it. I will take it if I know what I'm getting.
That's adding a detail to my argument that did not exist. They don't have to be conditional. But I am fascinated by this trial. It is crazy to me how long it's going to last. Because we're
6
on
weeks?
week
4.
6 weeks.
We're on week 4 right
She's testifying tomorrow.
The Kyle Rittenhouse trial lasted what? 2?
This is the trial of our generation.
Bigger than OJ.
If OJ was if OJ was a statement on domestic violence and fame and all these things in the 90s, then this is a trial. Then this is the trial on similar issues here in 2022.
And it's interesting that it would be a defamation case about an article that was published in a major outlet, and also in some ways, although they're not talking about it, the experience social media had and how they reacted to it. This is a case about our relationship with media and how it is manipulated to hold some people up and push others down. And I think that is so fascinating.
Do you think that if this trial doesn't work out in Johnny Depp's favor, could he move on and sue the Washington Post?
I don't see why he
No,
wouldn't.
I feel like it would be harder to.
The thing about the Washington Post is that, like, so with defamation, you have to prove that there was an intention to damage a reputation.
Then maybe
it's easier to prove that on Amber Heard's part than Washington Post.
And the Washington Post is protected by the First Amendment. They are allowed to, like,
and they're owned by Jeff
Then
Bezos.
okay, and again, I'm not a lawyer. It'd be cool to get Ricada Law on here, but like, doesn't her like trying to like tell him to hold off on publishing the articles that she said she'd hold off if he gave him if he gave her the penthouses and the Range Rover, and I'll hold off on publishing that article. Doesn't that kind of show that she's aware of what it's going to do to his character if she does it?
I think that's why they bring it up, and also like she is thinking monetarily about how.
Yes.
This money will affect her. About
it wasn't about
his
speaking
earnings.
out or having a voice.
I would say that like it would be amazing and interesting if he sued the Washington Post, but the Washington Post has some protections. Like there are protections for press. Like they're allowed to publish these things, and it is very difficult in this country. If you look at the number of times the New York Times has been sued for defamation and all the cases have been rejected or they have been found that they were not guilty of defamation, it is really interesting. So it's easier, even as a public figure, to prove it against another public figure. I would argue.
So before we go, I was going to say, so it says that Depp's agent testified on Monday that he was to receive $22.5 million to star in Pirates of the Caribbean 6, but Disney decided to go in a different direction after Amber Heard published an op-ed reviving her domestic abuse allegations. But then if you go down here, it says after the op-ed, it was impossible to get him a studio film. And then it says Depp's attorneys seek to prove that it was the op-ed that damaged Depp's employment prospects and not Heard's prior abuse allegations in 2016, which concluded with a divorce settlement. Wiggum testified on Monday that he started working with Depp in October of 2016, and Depp worked steadily in 2017, so that's after those allegations. He earned $8 million for City of Lies, $10 million for Murder on the Orient Express, and $13.5 million for Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. There was already mild backlash from the internet about him being allowed to be in Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, I remember that, and I remember it being. I think it was one of the examples of them like cutting down his screen time, if I'm remembering this correctly.
So it says, and then in 2018, he made $1 million only for Waiting for the Barbarians, an independent film, and was set to receive $3 million for Minimata after another independent film that shot in early 2019.
But it's interesting he had to pivot to independent films. It doesn't seem like because he wanted to, but because that was who was offering him contracts.
He's kind of like the example of he's a weird enough artistic style actor that he gets to do, and he has enough money and capital that he can wait for big budget artistic films rather than having to go the independent route.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's against doing independent films, but I'm just saying like it seems like it sort of became his only option is what that timeline implies.
But the funny thing about it is the way culture has gone, there's an argument to be made that in the absence of a contract from Disney, that we were already well into the all-female reboots of everything phases in Hollywood, and that Disney could have easily, because that's what they're doing Margot Robbie in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. God help us all.
They could say we moved in a different direction for
different reasons.
Different reasons.
Like, but the timing is interesting. Like, they may have always been considering.
It's interesting,
moving
but
to a
it's
female.
not irrefutable.
I'm saying in the absence of a contract that was broken, I don't know how they prove that Disney couldn't have just decided that. I guess through internal memos, whether that would have come
and we don't
out.
know how far. Like, maybe they didn't have a contract, but they had been emailing. They were like, "We're going to do this." She countersued Depp for $100 million. And
Yes,
I would like to know, and I really should just look into it, how she came up with that number. Because his does seem like it's based on like, I would have earned this much from this movie.
Yeah.
He lost brand deals because of this. Like, I think that some of it is all connected. I would buy that his legal team is accurately calculating that, right? And he's probably spent a ton of money.
I feel
on
like
his
she
legal
didn't
fees.
put any thought into it.
I feel like she
was
was
like,
like, you said 50, I'm going to say 100.
Yeah.
So they talk about Q scores, which are used in marketing to quantify a performer's fame and popularity. They noted that Depp's Q score had dropped since Heard's first made her allegations in May of 2016. In February, he had February of 2016, excuse me, he had a positive Q score of 35 and a negative Q score of 11. In August 2018, the score was 31 positive and 16 negative. They like him less and dislike him more. That I kind of get that stuff mixed up with like when they talk about like your approval versus your disapproval rating. You kind of think of them in like a binary sense, and that's not really what they are. It says in February 2019, 2 months after the op-ed, Depp's score was 29 positive, 15 negative. So it's not even. I mean, it's different.
Yeah, it's not a linear.
Yeah, like I would have thought it would have gone lower than that, but
I think that's because it was so confusing.
Yes. So
and I think even then people were sort of like, she's handling this in a weird way, because I remember that video of him like supposedly throwing a wine bottle. She had like hidden her phone and like recorded it, and it like leaked, and everyone was like, "Ooh, that's very violent." And then later, the full video emerged, but it wasn't like a year later. It was like weeks or months later, and it was clear that like she had done it on purpose. She had like been antagonizing him and like trying to get that
she's
shot.
good at that.
But it was so quick during this time period that I think like there were signs that some of the stuff going on between them was not being represented to the public accurately.
Amber Heard punched and spit on Johnny Depp, bodyguard claims. By the way, this is not
Starling Jenkins.
It's not Starling Jenkins.
What a fantastic name!
It's a great name. So it says it says the F word is my favorite word, and it was being thrown around to a point where I was uncomfortable. My guess is that there was words far worse than that being said that made the guy uncomfortable. People who love the F word don't care how many times you say the F word.
See, but I think that's the point.
She was just throwing that around as like seasoning for the real insult.
A punch, a can of Red Bull, and Amber Heard's saliva were among the things hurled at Johnny Depp in one fight, according to his bodyguard. Are we supposed to... Now, here's my question for this. Do we take this as, like, now that it's testified in court, meaning that under penalty of perjury, this is swearing to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, whatever, do we take this as fact now? I know this is a stupid question.
I don't see what motivation this bodyguard would have to not report exactly...
You kind of
saw.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he still works. I don't know if he still works for Depp, so there's loyalty there.
But like he could be charged with perjury if they're able to prove
he has
it
a
wrong.
lot more to lose.
So like there is
lying about it.
And there's no like function of lying. Like it's the same way that if I told you like, you know, I drove my car to work today and I saw a deer, like that's as far as we know a fact, right? It's not the same kind of, it may not have the same weight as like data or contracts, but like there's no reason to doubt it if we believe that he is honoring the being sworn in.
So they say what kind of names did Heard call Depp, and says effing deadbeat dad, effing washed up, effing that C word that the British people love that we don't say here.
Good trail off there.
Thank you.
I think it's interesting because Johnny Depp's daughter has like been very openly supportive of him. She was a high school like teenager when they were married, and like she has had a very have his, you know, ex-girlfriends and ex-partners and things like that. Like these insults are so barbed in this really poisonous way that it's like
McGivern claimed that he saw Heard.
It's also things that she is inflicting on him, like isolating him from his kids, and then
turning around and being like, "You're a deadbeat."
Taking his career opportunities away from him by calling him washed up.
Yep. So it says but when they came back to the apartment, they were having a fight. He called his bodyguard and his nurse and says, McGivern claimed he saw Heard throw a can of Red Bull at Depp, which hit him in the back. He stepped between them because I didn't want my client getting hit with anything else. Indeed, he said managed to deflect a purse, a bag that Heard threw at her husband. So she's throwing multiple items of varying weights. I mean, a full can of Red Bull could hurt you if you got hit in the head.
Purse could. They have like hooks.
Was
and
it
metal
full?
on
I thought I was thinking of an empty one.
I'm just saying that I don't know.
Right. Throw a full one.
I don't think
velocity.
It says a can of Red Bull. It doesn't quantify whether it's full or not. Would be interesting to know if it was like checked into evidence. Like
yes.
The couple were shouting a lot of verbal vitriol at each other, and Depp was giving as good as he got, which means that I'm sure he was saying some pretty vile things in return. So he does not get off the hook.
Yeah, and I do think we should say, you know, I am pretty fascinated with this, but I don't think anyone in this room believes that either party is completely blameless.
I've tried to make that point on a regular basis.
As their marriage counselor said, like they're mutually toxic.
If you conclude that it's only one person's fault,
you oversimplify.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
What I found,
and also later on in this incident itself, like he went into all of her stuff and started like throwing all of her stuff,
clothes
like,
out
all her clothes and everything.
He said he turned like the third floor into a closet for her.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, you kind of enabled that, didn't you? But he like started throwing it down the stairs.
I have found that like a lot of people, because it's very easy to want to do this when they cover this. They've made they've made these people very clear villains and good guys, and I'm weary of calling either of them in a case like this. When we're going to talk about FKA Twigs later, and so anytime you get into this type of stuff, I am hesitant to want to label anyone as totally good or totally bad.
Right.
Her behavior is reprehensible.
Right. And the charge isn't who was good at being in this relationship and who was a better partner.
Exactly.
The charge is defamation, which she, to me, it seems clearly did.
Yep.
We don't need to actually, it's almost, and it's not completely, but they're not being charged with being a terrible couple.
Right. This is almost irrelevant. It's
not
relevant
irrelevant.
only because she's bringing up blatant lies about this exact incident, saying that
Also,
he
it
was
takes
like
a-
dragging her by her hair and beating her.
It takes a lot of it takes a certain type of personality to write an op-ed about how you were abused when you
Or have someone else pen your op-ed.
When you clearly engaged in the exact same behavior, there's a lot. There's a lot
and
there.
like there's a weird dark confidence there, that being like I can hit him first and harder, and it won't
And
come
in
back
front
to
of
me.
people.
Yeah.
because there's a discrepancy there between men and women that exists because of the power. The men are stronger. Men have.
I don't mean physically. I mean by like leveraging this op-ed to get what she wanted. Like she was basically it's like putting herself and being like, I don't think you could prove anything against me, and I think the public likes me so much that I will not lose opportunities. And like, I think
she's
that was a
getting
bad
proven wrong.
gamble. Yeah.
So it says that Depp threw down probably every rack of clothing and shoes, and even threw one rack down the stairs. So he threw them off
But
the balcony.
not at her.
Not
right?
at her. No, it's just so then it says, hearing the commotion, he said Heard returned, and that's when McGivern walked to Depp and told him he needed to leave immediately. And then it says, quote, "At this point, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a fist and an arm come across my right shoulder, and I heard and saw a closed fist contact Mr. Depp in the left side of his face." He claimed this was Miss Heard's fist, Amber Heard's fist. The initial look on his face kind of mirrored mine, kind of a look of shock, McGivern recalled. What just happened? Where did that come from? I decided I wasn't going to let Mr. Depp get hit anymore, he said. I told him we were leaving and it wasn't up to him anymore, just for his safety. I'd let him get hit by a Red Bull can. I let him get punched. My job is to ensure the safety and well-being of my clients, and I felt that I hadn't done that, so it was my time to do my job and get him out of there. McGivern admitted to the court that Depp was not pleased with me, naturally, which drew a laugh from Depp in court, which I'm sure was as charismatic a laugh as anyone in the history of laughter has ever laughed before.
I can't imagine being the security guard, like who's like when you get hired to be a celebrity security guard, you're thinking like crowds and paparazzi, and like it turns out that like when you're in their home,
right?
Like if they're being assaulted by a spouse, like aren't you supposed to intervene? And like that
Right,
must be
but then
super
it's like,
weird.
are you kind of hired to protect them both if they're
I would argue no,
in
'cause
public as a unit? Or
That's very interesting.
I think that's
Yeah,
more
and
like
then
if your kid is like, if you're the president's kid and your friend comes over, the Secret Service isn't going to be like, hey, get out of here, other kid, if there's something dangerous.
No.
But like he's on Johnny Depp's payroll, his specific, and like he could have been a Johnny Depp for years before Amber Heard, right? Like it's clear his connection is to the actor, not to Amber Heard.
So it says Heard's lawyer said that Depp, so this is upon cross-examination of the same witness. Heard's lawyer said Depp had tried to grab Heard's hair and hit her with the hard cast on his hand, and that Heard only punched Depp because he had first pushed her sister. McGivern said that none of that happened. Also testifying on Monday was Depp's talent manager, Jack Wiggum, that's where they talk about what happened with the studio film role. So all that's in there. It's a very, very contentious case, to say the least.
Well, and I would like a recording of how many times the defense has been like, this happened, right? Ready to like get that like moment.
And they're like, no.
They're like, no. Or the makeup company is like, we didn't even make that product. Like, can you imagine being her attorney right now and like turning around and being like, I can't even trust what you're saying? Because that's the impression a lot of these reports have given me. Like Amber Heard is lying to her own defense.
but do you think just between them they've crafted something?
It's like a combination, right?
They've crafted a narrative together.
That's what I'm saying.
Or is it
I'm
sort of like
weary
a wink,
everyone.
wink, nudge, nudge? I know that this didn't happen. Like, but here's what we're saying. This happened. This happened.
I
this
wish
happened.
we could get a defense attorney here to discuss this because I don't.
Yeah.
Really
Is that
know a ton.
lawful? Like, I don't even know.
I don't
how
know
that
what
works.
the total strategy is, but I do know that like it sounds like this. I mean, maybe this is like their strategy to try and get someone on the stand to admit to something, but normally when the person's under oath, they're not supposed to lie, right? So she's like, didn't that happen? And the guy goes, no. It would be a weird question to be like, oh, I thought I could trick him into lying, you know? So that makes me think the defense attorney thinks these situations really occurred as told by Amber Heard.
You know how lucky we are that we don't have to apologize for covering this in pointing out the insanity of all of these two people, these two individuals' behavior. Drew Barrymore apparently like laughed at like how ridiculous this all is,
humanity.
and because she laughed, she was forced to
She wasn't even
apologize.
laughing at like their misfortune or their suffering or domestic violence. She literally just said, "This is private information that is being made public, and it's kind of crazy."
Why would she have to apologize for that?
Because that's the world we live in.
Her
now.
apologizing, again, it's just like, if you're apologizing, I don't really care
This is her
anymore.
quote. She says, "It's like one layer of crazy. It's a 7-layer dip of insanity. It's like one layer of crazy. It's a 7-layer dip of insanity," Barrymore said while discussing the show with guest Anthony Anderson on Friday. "I know that these are two people's real lives, and I know that it's like, I know what it's like to have your life put out in public. I understand all the feelings, but they are actually offering up this information that nobody has to know. This is crazy." Like, that was like the most reasonable thing in the history of reasonable things. Why would you have to apologize
this
for that?
situation is pretty outlandish, huh, guys?
She says, "It has come to my attention that I have offended people with making light of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and for that, I just want to deeply apologize and appreciate everyone who spoke out, because this can be a teachable moment for me." She says,
Growing and learning.
So what she's saying is, I'm bending the knee because a bunch of Joe Schmo 32s on Twitter.
Again, I don't sympathize with you if you apologize.
Yes, she had nothing to apologize for.
No, I think it's weird. And we said at the beginning when we knew this trial was coming that like I said that I felt like Johnny Depp must really want to clear his name, and that seems reasonable to me.
Yep.
Because why else would you, as a celebrity, as a public figure, be like, fine, I'm going to tell you everything about my marriage. Like, there was it was obvious this was going to be very exposing to them, and I feel like you would only do it if you really felt like it was the only way forward. And like, he has been really hurt by this. He's lost a lot of money. I don't think Drew Barrymore's statements are unreasonable because she makes this comment like, this is not something you want to do. It's
the
something you
statement
must
was
feel you have to
reasonable.
do.
The apology was unreasonable and unnecessary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
Full
thank
of
goodness.
herself.
Thank goodness that's not us, and we don't have to apologize for that.
Yeah, we don't care.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.